If you enjoy the stories I share here, please consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell icon. Your support truly inspires me to keep bringing these real, raw moments to life. Now, let's dive into today's story. I never imagined I'd end up as the antagonist in my own marriage, but that's exactly where I found myself, staring at a plain sheet of paper, my hands trembling as I took in the words once spoken with such emotion by the man I married. Words filled with promise. Words he had written with tears streaking down his face, back when we both still believed in forever. What I held now were those very vows, sent back to me in a simple white envelope. No frills. Just a small sticky note stuck to the front. 4 haunting words. You broke them all. And in that moment, something inside me shattered. I couldn't breathe. But if I'm being honest, brutally honest, the story didn't start with the affair. It began long before that. Saying so doesn't justify my actions. Not even close. But I didn't just roll out of bed one morning and decide to betray the man who had given me every reason to trust him. It happened slowly, like watching the paint on the walls quietly flake away while convincing yourself the house still looked just fine. Isaac and I had been husband and wife for 5 years. He was gentle, dependable, fiercely loyal. The type of man who made pancakes every Sunday and knew how you liked your coffee without being told. But he was also the type who bottled things up instead of opening up, who believed spending time together meant sitting in silence in front of the TV, not connecting, not reaching. I, on the other hand, craved energy, intimacy, passion. I needed to feel seen. And when I stopped asking for those things and he never noticed, resentment began to creep in like ivy through the cracks. Then came Julian. He was nothing like Isaac. Loud, magnetic, spontaneous. We met at a marketing conference in Chicago. One too many cocktails at the hotel bar turned into a stolen kiss in the elevator. And I kissed him back. That moment opened the door to a life I never thought I'd live, a secret existence filled with lies and compartmentalized guilt. Girls' weekends that were actually trysts with Julian in hotel rooms. Discreet messages sent under the dinner table. A second toothbrush I kept tucked away in my handbag. I kept telling myself it was temporary, that I'd put an end to it. That maybe Isaac didn't love me anymore, because if he did, surely he would notice me slipping away. But he did love me, more than I could comprehend. Only I realized it too late. One night, Isaac was asleep beside me. I quietly slipped out of bed, my phone pressed to my ear as I whispered to Julian in the hallway. That's when I heard it, the soft creak of a floorboard behind me. I turned around, my pulse pounding. And there he stood. Isaac. Silent. Just watching. He didn't raise his voice. Didn't demand answers. Didn't cry. He simply stared at me like I was a stranger, someone he used to know. Then, without a word, he turned and walked away. Back to bed. By morning, he was gone. When I came downstairs, the house was spotless. His car keys were missing. And there, resting on the kitchen table, was his wedding ring. No note. No confrontation. Just silence. The next few days blurred together. I called him endlessly. Left dozens of messages. Nothing. I even went to his office, only to be told by his assistant that he decided to work from home for a while. I tried calling his mother. She refused to speak to me. I convinced myself it wasn't final. That we could mend things. That one awful decision didn't have to destroy everything. I thought he just needed time. Then, 7 days later, the envelope came. No return address. Just my name on the front. Inside were 2 things, a folded sheet of paper, and a yellow sticky note with those 4 devastating words, scribbled in Isaac's unmistakable handwriting. You broke them all. My fingers shook as I unfolded the letter. It was the vows, the ones he had written by hand. The ones he'd carried in his wallet every day since. The same ones he whispered through tears on our wedding day, while I stood before him in white, promising I would always be his. I promise to choose you, even when the world feels like it's falling apart. I promise to listen, even when I don't fully understand. I promise to guard your heart, even if it means mine breaks in the process. I promise to make sure you feel desired, valued, and deeply loved every single day. I promise to stand by us, to fight for what we build, and to never stop believing in the woman you are. I must have read that letter 100 times, until the words melted into each other through tear-blurred vision. How did I end up here? Julian tried to be my comfort. Said Isaac was being dramatic. Said we had a shot at something real. But after that letter, something in me shifted. I saw Julian clearly for the first time, not as a lover, not as a lifeline, but as exactly what he was. Arrogant. Addicted to being the distraction, never interested in becoming the destination. He was never meant to be my forever. He was just the excuse I used to run. That same night, I ended it. I blocked his number, erased every message, every trace of him from my phone. It felt like fleeing a house engulfed in flames, only to realize I'd been the one who struck the match. But the fire had already swallowed everything. I tried to fix it. Desperately. I wrote emails. Poured my heart into handwritten notes. I even showed up at Isaac's brother's engagement celebration, praying I'd get the chance to speak to him. The moment I walked in, he walked out. Weeks passed. Then months. And one afternoon, I saw him again. He was standing in the produce aisle at the local grocery store, examining apples like he had all the time in the world. He looked the same. But there was something different, lighter, freer. Like someone who had weathered a storm and made it to the other side intact. I froze in place, heart pounding in my chest. He looked up. Our eyes met. We stood there, suspended in silence. Then he gave me a small, polite smile, tight at the corners. "Hi, Eliza." His tone was steady. Too steady. I stepped toward him. "Isaac, please. Can we talk?" He gave a small shake of his head. "There's nothing left to say." "There is," I pleaded. "So much. I was wrong. I was selfish. I'm sorry. Truly." His voice was soft when he answered. "I know you are. I believe that." Tears gathered again. "So, does that mean, could we try again?" He hesitated, eyes lowering to the apples in his hand. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet but sure. "I spent years learning how to love you right," he said. "But it doesn't work when the person you're loving is always reaching for someone else." "I'm not reaching anymore," I whispered. He looked up again. This time, there was sadness in his gaze, but also something else, acceptance. "I know," he said. "But I'm not yours anymore." Then he turned and walked away, leaving me standing alone with an empty basket and a heart even emptier. That night, I read his vows one last time. I never threw them away. I couldn't. A part of me held on to hope, fragile, foolish hope, that maybe one day, years from now, our paths would cross again. That maybe time would heal what I broke. But I think I always knew the truth. He loved me enough to write those vows, and enough to walk away when I broke every single one. I was unfaithful. And in return, my husband mailed me the vows he once made, with a note that said everything. Now, all I have left is the memory of what I destroyed.